Well, it's almost the day many in the tourism industry have been waiting for. On Monday, Canada will begin allowing fully vaccinated Americans to cross the border into Canada. Beth Potter is in Bancroft, Ontario. She is the president and CEO of the Tourism Association of Canada. And in Ottawa, Barbara Barrett. She's the executive director of Frontier Duty Association. Hello to both of you. Thanks for joining us today.
Thank you for having us.
Great. Hello to you, Paul.
Beth, I wouldn't mind beginning with you, if that's all right. You've been calling for the reopening of the border for some time now. What impact will this have on the tourism sector?
Well, it will give tourism business owners a ray of hope that recovery can start. We have been closed now for 16 months. Businesses have been without that revenue. They have been, very, very concerned about the future viability of their businesses. And so this opening of the border and the beginning of welcoming American visitors back to Canada, it's the step that we've all been waiting to take, and certainly offers that glimmer of hope.
It's sort of incredible when you think about how long it's been, isn't it? Barbara, I mean, how about you? How does this affect you? You deal with stores along the border, the duty-free stores. What is your expectation there in the days ahead?
Thanks, Paul. The land border duty-free stores, unlike the airports, are all small, independently owned, usually family-run businesses. And a number of them have been completely shut down since March 2020, which has been absolutely devastating. Others have been able to stay open to essential workers, but even those are 95 to 97% down in revenue compared to pre-COVID. As Beth said, this little glimmer of hope is positive for us that the border will be open to Americans on August 9th. But for us, because we're an export-only business, our direction is south. So although it's good that Americans will be coming in and spending their money here, and what goes up must also go down, it's really just a trickle and a crack in the opening for us. So we still have a ways to go to recovery.
You've said, Barbara, that your industry, in fact, can't come back without specific relief measures. What exactly are you looking for?
Well, our business as part of the tourism industry really is the hardest hit of the hardest hit. We haven't even started to look at recovery yet. While other businesses have started moving on, and during the pandemic, we didn't have a way to pivot our business to do domestic sales or online sales, given that we are federally regulated and export only. So what we're asking for is a relief fund or a business support program to help the tourism industry and hardest hit businesses like ours.
And I want to hear from both of you on this. I'll begin with you, though, Beth. I mean, at the same time, we see the news out of America, and cases in many parts of that country are spiking up again and being driven by the Delta variant. Same thing's happening. We see what's happening in British Columbia that we're hearing about just today. Goes another argument that maybe this isn't the prudent time to be opening up the border. What are your thoughts on that, Beth?
Well, from the very beginning, we've been following the science, and our own government has had an expert advisory panel on testing and screening, and that panel came out with a series of recommendations a number of months ago now that talked about how can we safely reopen the border and allow travelers to begin to come into our country again. So, we of course we want to put the health and safety of Canadians first and foremost. That has always been a priority for our industry. But this opening of the border is based on welcoming fully vaccinated American visitors who are vaccinated with vaccines that Health Canada recognizes. So, and we're also following the scientific reports that show that vaccinated individuals are less likely to get a severe case of the virus. So we're putting our faith in science at this point and hoping that we can get the borders open and not see that big spike that sure is on everyone's mind.
And Barbara, what are your thoughts? I mean, there's the economic necessity, but there's also the circumstance. What's your take?
Well, I have a couple of thoughts on that, actually, but we have to remember that Canadians and Americans have been flying over the border this whole time. So,
good point.
Yeah, and part of allowing the fully vaccinated Americans to come to the Canadian border is having this PCR test before they arrive there. So, as Beth said, they are taking the recommendations of the medical experts and the scientists. So we hope that goes hand in hand with helping our businesses get back to recovery.
And just briefly, to both of you, we've got a potential labor dispute at the same time. Never rains, it pours. Beth, your thoughts on how that might affect things?
Well, we're really hoping that that as the parties are at the table over the weekend, that they can come to a resolution. We would really hate to see any kind of disruption at the border, cause confusion for travelers. We would also hate for it to influence their decision whether or not they come across into Canada or not. We heard, from the moment the announcement was made that August 9 was the day that we were going to be able to welcome Americans back to Canada. We heard from operators that their phones started ringing, Americans wanting to come over to Canada and to enjoy those experiences that they're very familiar with. When the rumors of the work to rule action came about in the last week or so, we also heard from those same businesses that said, they were getting calls from their guests worried about whether or not they could come across. So we would hate to see something like this have a negative impact on what could be, a recapture of some of the summer season that's still left.
And Barbara, we've literally run out of time, but I'll give you the last word. Your thoughts quickly on the potential labor dispute.
Understand that they need to do it, but don't feel like it's fair for the unions to do it on the backs of small businesses like ours.
Thanks to both of you. Appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Beth Potter,
Thank you.
Beth Potter, President and CEO of the Tourism Association of Canada, and Barbara Barrett, Executive Director of Frontier Duty Association.
Hi, I'm Vashi Capellos, host of Power in Politics. See more of our show by subscribing to the CBC News channel or click the link for another video.